Good morning. Welcome to Optimal Frequency. I'm Grant. I talk to spirits here at my house using sources of white noise, mostly the kitchen tap upstairs, and I use an AI filter to remove the sound of the running water, and it leaves behind only the spirit responses. I get amazing answers to the questions I ask. So if you've been watching the last few days, I'm on a murder mystery kick where I've been looking into cases that have been unsolved or maybe deemed accidents, and they really weren't accidents, or maybe you have a gut feeling, or I have a gut feeling that it wasn't an accident. So I'm looking into these cases. Today will be the fourth video, and today we're going all the way back to 1994. I was 18 at the time, and I do remember this. I mean, don't know, I guess we weren't doing too much in 94. I was laying on the couch watching TV, and who should appear but O.J. Simpson in his white Bronco. So we're going back to 1994. O.J. Simpson, his girlfriend, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Ron Goldman, the murders of those two. Now, you may have a predisposition of, yeah, O.J. did it. I think maybe we kind of all do. I mean, he wrote a book saying, if I did it, this is how I would do it. And then there's been court cases and court battles ever since then. The Goldman family was awarded millions and millions of dollars in a civil suit after the fact. But let's get into the whole thing. There's really only one question we want the answer to is, did O.J. do it? Day 2 of the O.J. case. 2 pages of questions. Gonna get right into this. It's been a long process. It's longer than normal video. So let's see what we get here. Good morning, spirits. Have you seen me working on the O.J. Simpson case? Just gonna jump right into these questions. Please answer them for us if you can, truthfully, and give us as much information as you can, as clearly as you can. Thank you, I appreciate it. Oh no, you don't, spirits. I worked on this, putting this together for 2 days, and you answered the question in the very first question that I ask? I guess that's to be expected, but I'm going to continue to decipher the rest of these, like, 40 questions I asked, so hopefully you'll keep watching. I mean, we all knew O.J. did it anyway. Bunch of spoil sports. Nicole Brown Simpson was the ex-wife of former professional American football player O.J. Simpson, whom she was married to from 1985 to 1992. She was the mother of their 2 children. 2 years after her divorce from Simpson, Brown was killed at her home in Los Angeles, California on June 12, 1994, along with her friend restaurant waiter Ron Goldman. Simpson, who had a history of physically abusing and making death threats towards Brown, was arrested and accused of both killings. Ronald Lyle Goldman was an American restaurant waiter and a friend of Nicole Brown Simpson. According to a June 15, 1994 Los Angeles Times article published 3 days after his death, Goldman met Brown only 6 weeks prior to the date they were murdered when he borrowed her Ferrari. The two grew increasingly friendly, occasionally meeting for coffee and dinner in the time frame leading up to their deaths. According to police and friends, however, the relationship between the two was platonic. Was O.J. Simpson's brain injured from all that football? And where do I find some friends that drive a Ferrari? Was O.J. jealous of Ron Goldman? Was Nicole and Ron's relationship strictly platonic? Okay, so this I'm leaving in not to ruin anybody's parade. I don't think this is common knowledge. In fact, I don't know if anybody knows it at all. But the spirits are telling us they did sleep together. And right before that, it's so muddled I can't make it out. But something about I think they wanted to make OJ jealous. So, which leads me to think, did they play with fire and they got burned? Which is a terrible thought. But when the spirits are telling us they were sleeping together, again, I'm not trying to make this terrible for anybody that might know them. No, not that anybody's going to watch it that knows them. But you know what I mean. I'm leaving this in there. The spirits are telling us that. It had to be. On the evening of Sunday, June 12, 1994, Goldman worked a server shift at a local restaurant in California. Brown called to report that her mother accidentally left her sunglasses on the table when they had dined there earlier in the evening. Goldman was not their server. After a search turned up the glasses in a street gutter outside the restaurant, Goldman agreed to drop them at her home after work. The Los Angeles Times reported that Goldman punched out at 9:33 p.m. and stayed another 15 minutes to have bottled water at the bar. Before returning the sunglasses, he stopped by his Brentwood apartment and he spoke briefly to his roommate, Stuart Tanner, before he left. The two had plans to go out later that evening. Goldman and Brown were stabbed to death on the walkway leading to the condominium at South Bundy Drive. Police found their bodies shortly after midnight. During a reconstruction of the events, the police came to believe he had arrived during or shortly after Nicole's death. Goldman's family believed that Goldman died trying to save Brown from her attacker and that he was the man whom eyewitnesses heard shouting that night. Goldman was killed 20 days before his 26th birthday. After researching this and reading up on it and whatnot, it struck me that Ron Goldman must have been an honest young man and a hard worker there. He punched out and then went to the bar and drank bottled water. Now, I've worked with a lot of scum that would have drank that water standing at the bar and then went and punched out, claiming an extra 15 minutes on their pay. Do you agree he was an honest young man? Did Ron come across the crime scene as Nicole was being murdered? Did he try and save Nicole? Did Ron Goldman show extraordinary braveness? Was his attacker a lot bigger than him? Following perfunctory questioning by police detectives, Simpson was formally charged with the murders on June 17, 1994, after investigators found a blood-stained glove on his property. After he did not turn himself in at the agreed time, he became the object of a low-speed pursuit in a white 1993 Ford Bronco SUV, owned and driven by his friend Al Cowlings. TV stations interrupted coverage of the 1994 NBA Finals to broadcast live coverage of the pursuit, which was watched by an estimated 95 million people. The pursuit and Simpson's subsequent arrest were among the most widely publicized events in televised history. How did the blood-stained glove get on OJ's property? So on this one, I hear, like, as if my team is asking for information from other spirits or something. Did they plant the glove? Which is what I'm getting at, right? Did the investigators plant it? I do hear the word investigators, but it's so jumbled in there, and I don't know what they're saying. I can't make out a yes or a no. Personally, I don't know if they planted evidence. Now, when the police came a-knocking, was OJ planning on going into hiding? During the 1994 Bronco chase, I believe he had a gun with him. Was he really capable of killing himself? A few months before the murders, Simpson completed a film pilot for Frogmen, an adventure series similar to the A-Team. Simpson played the lead role of Bullfrog Burke, who led a group of former U.S. Navy SEALs. He received a fair amount of military training, including the use of a knife. A 25-minute tape of the pilot was found by investigators and watched on Simpson's television as they searched his house. The prosecution never introduced it as evidence during the trial. It was reported that among the skills of the character of Bullfrog Burke was night killings and the silent kill technique of slashing the throat, and that SEALs regularly wear knit watch caps like the one found at the scene of the crime. As an addendum to the Frogman theory, it should be noted that Brown's body was found lying face down and barefoot at the bottom of the stairs leading to the door. The walkway leading to the stairs was covered in blood, but the soles of Brown's feet were clean. Based on this evidence, investigators concluded that she was the first person to be killed and the intended target. She had been stabbed multiple times in the head and neck, but there were few defensive wounds on her hands, implying a short struggle to investigators. The final wound inflicted ran deep into her neck, severing her carotid artery. Did Simpson use the knowledge he learned from his Frogman training to slit Nicole's throat? Was the knit cap on the scene that was found on the scene, was that worn by OJ because of his Frogman training? Was that OJ's hair inside the cap? Did OJ step on Nicole's back and then slit her throat? It's definitely savage, we know that, and I mean, I tried to not put in the gruesome crime scene photos. I mean, don't go looking because it's pretty bad. They show everything. We're getting some awesome responses here, but I know because I spent the last 2 days plotting out the story portion of it, this is going to be a double feature. It has to be. It's just getting way too long. So we're going to end it here, but by the time you guys watch this, I'm going to work so that I can get the second part done, and you should be able to watch the following part 2 the next day, so you won't have to wait very long. All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in part 2.